There is a quiet strangeness to this moment, a feeling you can't quite name, a pull you can't quite explain, an inner shift you didn't consciously choose, but somehow ended up inside of. You may not realize it yet, but something within you has been preparing for this exact moment for days, maybe weeks. A subtle stirring, a faint pressure behind your thoughts, a sense that something larger than you has been hovering near the surface, waiting for you to slow down enough to notice. You didn't find these words by chance. And no, that I senti line meant to sound mystical. It is simply the truth your spirit already knows. There's a timing to the way guidance reaches you, a rhythm to the way your soul communicates, a sequence to the way signs appear around you. And today, that rhythm aligned long enough for a message to come through. A 12-minute window of clarity, not urgent, not threatening, not demanding, but intentional. A window that opened exactly when your energy softened, when your defenses lowered, when your inner world was quiet enough to receive what has been trying to reach you. Archangel Michael says this moment is not about rushing. It is about resonance. If you weren't meant to be here, you wouldn't feel this pull in your chest right now. If this message wasn't meant for you, your spirit wouldn't have reacted the moment your eyes reached the first sentence. Some part of you already knows, this is for me. Think back to earlier today, just for a moment. There was a tug, wasn't there? A sensation you brushed off? A thought that lingered longer than it should have? An ache you couldn't quite place? A heaviness, a memory, an unexplained calm, or a strange inner noise you tried to ignore. People overlook these things all the time, dismissing them as stress, fatigue, overthinking. But today, something inside you didn't dismiss it. Something paid attention. And that something, that subtle shift, is what opened this 12-minute window. Michael says the feeling you had earlier was the first signal. This message is the second. And the second never arrives unless the first has already awakened something inside you. You've been going through an internal shift long before you named it. You've been feeling out of place in familiar situations. You've been sensing things you can't logically explain. You've been craving stillness and clarity without knowing why. And even though you've been trying to keep life normal, a part of you has known for some time that something deeper is happening. This is that something, this moment, this message, this alignment. Your energy is open in a way it hasn't been in a long time. Your spirit is listening in a way it normally doesn't. Your intuition is louder, your resistance is lower, your awareness is sharper, even if you can't feel all of that consciously. This is what a divine window feels like. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, just undeniably present. The truth is, you've been asking for guidance. Maybe quietly, maybe desperately, maybe through your actions rather than your words. And guidance arrives only when the heart is soft enough to receive it. Today, your heart softened. You may have mistaken it for exhaustion, or sadness, or confusion. But the universe recognized it as permission. The moment your inner world opened even an inch, this message began making its way toward you. You have been standing in a threshold for a long time, half in the past, half in the future, half in your fears, half in your potential. And a soul cannot stay in two realities forever. Eventually, something must give. Eventually, something cracks open. Eventually, the truth pushes and pushes until you finally say, I'm listening. Today was that crack, that shift, that signal. Michael says you've been carrying an old version of yourself far longer than you needed to. A version built from survival, from expectation, from trying to be everything for everyone. A version made of habits you no longer align with, fears that no longer protect you, beliefs that no longer fit you. And today, that old version trembled, just enough, just once, just long enough for the new version of you to whisper, let me in. Because transitions don't begin with clarity. They begin with feelings you cannot ignore. The heaviness you felt earlier, the confusion, the subtle ache. The unexplainable tension? Those were not warnings. They were openings. Openings into your own truth. Openings into your next chapter. Openings into the version of you who has been waiting behind the door you've been too afraid to open. This is why the 12-minute window appeared now, not yesterday, not tomorrow. Now, while your spirit is awake enough to hear, and your heart is tender enough to understand. Your soul doesn't want to overwhelm you. It wants to reach you, softly, quietly, gently, when you're ready. Today, you were ready. And the message embedded inside this readiness is simple, but profound. Something inside you is shedding. Something inside you is rising. And something inside you is trying to guide you out of your old identity and into a new alignment. You've been at the edge of this shift for a long time. Today, you stepped a little closer. This first part is the opening of the doorway, the moment where your heart recognizes the message is meant for you. In part 2, the energy deepens. Why you felt what you felt today. Why the window opened. And what your soul is trying to pull you toward. If part 1 stirred something inside you, a memory, a pressure, a quiet recognition that because the shift you've been sensing is not subtle anymore, it's becoming conscious. And consciousness is always the second step of transformation. First comes the feeling, then comes the awareness. Today, both happened within hours of each other. That is not coincidence. That is alignment. Archangel Michael says the reason you felt something earlier today, that strange heaviness or tug, is because a message was already forming in your energy field. Before words reach your mind, they reach your spirit. Before clarity reaches your thoughts, it reaches your intuition. And before guidance reaches your life, it reaches your emotions. That feeling was the first arrival of guidance. Think back to it now. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't chaotic. It was small, but undeniable. A thought that didn't belong to the moment. A feeling you couldn't name. A sense of being off, yet somehow closer. A subtle internal pressure, as if something wanted to move. You felt it because your soul was shifting. You noticed it because you were ready. And you're here now because your spirit answered the call. Michael explains this very simply. When a new timeline approaches, the body feels it before the mind understands it. That's why you had that moment earlier, the moment you couldn't explain. Your whole energy system felt the new path moving closer, brushing against your awareness. And because you didn't block it, because you didn't numb it, because you didn't run from it, the guidance could finally reach you. This is why the 12-minute window exists. It's not a countdown. It's not a threat. It's not urgency in the human sense. It is a moment where your inner world becomes unusually open, like a door left ajar by accident, allowing truth to slip in without resistance. Today, that door opened, and now you're beginning to understand why it opened. You have been carrying conflicting energies inside you for a long time. Two versions of yourself trying to coexist, two directions trying to pull you, two needs trying to be expressed. You've been trying to move forward while still holding on to something from the past. You've wanted change, yet feared what change might reveal. You've wanted clarity, yet resisted the truths that clarity requires. This tension is not failure. It is transformation in progress. You are dissolving. You are shedding. You are shifting cell by cell, belief by belief, truth by truth. And today was the first day your spirit said, I am ready to understand myself. The 12-minute window opened because your energy finally softened enough to receive what your soul has been whispering for months. You cannot step into the new while clinging to the old. And deep down, you know exactly what the old is. A role you've outgrown, a fear you've carried too long, a person who isn't good for your spirit, a version of yourself built from survival rather than truth, a habit that drains you, a story that no longer fits who you are becoming. Your body felt it today. That moment of tension wasn't just emotional, it was energetic. It was the old version of you loosening its hold. It was your spirit cracking open, even for a second. It was an internal exhale after years of holding your breath. Michael wants you to understand something very clearly. The heaviness you felt today was not an ending. It was a beginning. The beginning of releasing what weighs you down. The beginning of remembering who you are beneath the noise. The beginning of noticing your own inner voice again. The beginning of courage returning to your chest. The beginning of truth rising where fear used to live. This is why the window opened now, not last month, not last week, not yesterday. Because today, your soul crossed a threshold that cannot be uncrossed. Once a truth begins to rise, it doesn't go back into silence. Once something deep within you wakes up, it doesn't fall asleep again. You know this. You can feel it. You felt the shift. Your intuition reacted instantly. You didn't realize what was happening in the moment. You just felt discomfort or confusion or pressure. But now you understand. It was your inner world rearranging itself. It was your intuition knocking. It was your spirit preparing for the message that arrived in part 1. And part 1 was the doorway. Part 2, this moment, these words, is the crossing. Because now the question becomes, where is your soul trying to take you? What truth is rising? What old version of you is dissolving? What is the next chapter pulling you toward? Michael says the answer is always hidden in the feeling you've been ignoring the most. The emotion that keeps returning. The dream that keeps repeating. The memory that keeps resurfacing. The desire you keep denying. The fear you pretend isn't there. Those recurring sensations are not weaknesses. They are messages. And today's window amplified them. Not to overwhelm you, but to make them too clear to dismiss. The truth is this. You're not losing control. You're not falling apart. You're not drifting. You're aligning. Your intuition is coming back online. Your emotional clarity is waking up. Your inner guidance is gaining volume. Your spirit is stepping forward. Everything you felt today, every tug, every ache, every moment of tension, was simply the sound of your old self letting go and your new self moving in. The 12-minute window opened to help you recognize this shift while it is still shaping itself. And as it continues to shape, the next part of the message becomes necessary. What your soul has been whispering, what you've been afraid to admit, and why the old version of you cannot walk with you into what's next. Your soul has been whispering to you for a long time, though you may not have realized it. It doesn't speak in words or sentences. It speaks in sensations, in patterns, in longings, in discomforts, in small intuitive pulses that you often brush aside. But the truth is this. Your soul has been trying to guide you toward a version of yourself you haven't fully stepped into yet. And today's window amplified the whisper, so you could finally hear it without resistance. Archangel Michael says your soul is always speaking, but most days, the noise of life is louder. The demands, the expectations, the worries, the distractions, they drown out the subtle messages from within. But today, something unusual happened. Your inner world became quieter. Not the outside world, that may have remained chaotic, but your inner world softened, even if only for a moment. That softening made space for clarity to slip through. And now, in this window, the whisper becomes clearer. Michael reveals the core truth gently. You cannot become who you are meant to be while clinging to who you were taught to be. This is the essence of the shift you felt earlier. This is the reason your emotions stirred. This is why the 12-minute window opened. Because your soul is trying to guide you away from an identity built out of survival, fear, guilt, or habit, and toward a self built out of truth, desire, alignment, and purpose. But here's the part most people don't understand. Transformation rarely begins with inspiration. It begins with discomfort. It begins with a feeling that something is off, with a growing restlessness, with a desire you can't explain, with a sadness that doesn't match your circumstances, with a moment of clarity that feels too fragile to hold, with the sense that the life you're living doesn't quite fit you anymore. These are not signs of failure. They are signs of awakening. They are the indicators that the old version of you, the one shaped by pressure, expectations, and past wounds, has reached its final stage. It cannot carry you forward. It cannot fit into your new timeline. It cannot walk with you into alignment. And your deeper self knows this. This is the part you've been avoiding, even if you didn't realize it. You've been feeling a pull towards something new, but also a fear of letting go. You've been craving change, yet holding on to the familiar. You've been sensing a shift, yet resisting the consequences of that shift. Michael says this conflict has been stretching your energy thin. That's why you felt drained. That's why you felt overwhelmed. That is why you've felt like you re-standing still, even when you re-trying your hardest. It is not because you re-stuck. It is because you're re-splitting yourself between two identities. The old you is tired. The new you is rising. The space between them is where you've been living. But today, only today, that space became clear enough for you to see what is actually happening. The inner echo you felt earlier wasn't random emotion. It was an energetic message. It's time. Time to let go of the version of you who kept collapsing yourself to fit into small spaces. Time to release the guilt that convinced you your needs were too much. Time to stop shrinking your voice to make others comfortable. Time to stop doubting your intuition because it doesn't match what the world expects of you. Time to stop fearing the unknown just because the known is familiar. You are ready for more than you've allowed yourself to believe. And yes, that readiness terrifies you because it asks for honesty. Not the performative kind. Not the kind you say to reassure others. But the kind your soul has been pushing you toward. Honesty about what you truly want. Honesty about what you're tired of. Honesty about who you've become. Honesty about what doesn't fit anymore. Honesty about what your future actually looks like when you stop forcing yourself into old patterns. Michael says the reason your dreams, emotions, instincts, and thoughts have been louder lately is because you are stepping into the stage of transformation, where truth becomes unavoidable. Once the soul begins shedding its old layers, the process cannot be reversed. And here is something even deeper. Your recurring emotion, the one that keeps coming back no matter what you do, is the doorway. The sadness that returns at night. The longing that hits you when you're alone. The frustration that appears even when everything seems fine. The sudden waves of clarity. The moments of doubt that feel strangely like guidance. The dreams you keep having. The signals that won't leave you alone. They're not problems. They're messages. Pure, raw guidance wrapped inside feeling. And the greatest misunderstanding humans have is believing emotions are obstacles rather than instructions. Your soul uses emotion because it is the only language you cannot ignore. Words can be denied. Signs can be dismissed. Logic can be argued with, but emotion demands truth. This is why today's shift felt the way it did. Physical, emotional, energetic. A message trying to reach you through every possible doorway. And now that you're inside this 12-minute window, you're able to hear the message without distortion. You cannot continue your next chapter with the same fears that shaped your last one. Your soul is not asking you to change everything today. It's asking you to acknowledge the change that has already begun. You are not at the edge of transformation. You are inside it. The heaviness was your old self collapsing. The clarity is your new self emerging. The discomfort is your realignment process. The intuition rising is your guidance system waking up. The quiet ache is your truth trying to speak. Everything you felt earlier was the beginning of revelation. And everything you are feeling now, reading these words, is confirmation. Michael says the old version of you cannot walk any further. That path has ended. The energies that once shaped you have reached their expiration point. Your spirit is already turning toward a new direction. There is a moment in every transformation when the soul stops whispering and begins calling, when the gentle nudges become unmistakable signals, when the truth you've been circling finally steps into the center and waits for you to face it. You are standing in that moment now. The 12-minute window isn't about urgency. It's about alignment. It's about sealing what has already begun inside you. Because whether you realize it consciously or not, you crossed a threshold today that the universe has been guiding you toward for a very long time. Archangel Michael says this final part of the message is not prediction. It is activation, a shifting of timelines, a choosing of direction, a claiming of identity, not through force, but through understanding. The first step was recognition. The second was awareness. The third was honesty. This final step is intention, because every new chapter is written by an intention, not a wish, not a hope, not a plan, but an intention. And intention is energy choosing a direction. Michael says when you choose intention, you stop living by default and start living by alignment. But to choose an intention, you must first understand what has been released. The old version of you, the one shaped by fear, pressure, survival, and self-minimizing, no longer has control. That chapter ended long before you realized it. What felt like exhaustion was actually completion. What felt like confusion was actually redirection. What felt like emptiness was actually space being cleared for truth. And now your soul is ready for the next step, to decide what fills that space. You may think you need clarity before choosing. You don't. You need honesty. Michael explains it simply. Clarity comes after you choose yourself, not before. This is why the 12-minute window is powerful. Your heart is open. Your intuition is awake. Your defenses are lowered. You are more connected to your truth right now than you have been in months, maybe years. This is the moment your intention will root the deepest. So take a breath, the kind that reaches your entire chest. Let the moment settle around you. Let your awareness expand. Let your mind grow quiet. Feel the way your spirit responds to the stillness. Because from this stillness, intention rises. You already know what needs to be released. The heaviness, the guilt, the roles that aren't yours, the fear disguised as logic, the stories you inherited rather than chose. And you also know what you desire, even if you've never said it out loud. The peace, the clarity, the alignment, the feeling of finally living as who you truly are, rather than who you had to be. Your intention lives between those two truths. Michael says the intention doesn't need to be big. In fact, the most powerful intentions are simple. I choose honesty. I choose clarity. I choose alignment. I choose myself. I choose peace. I choose growth. I choose truth. I choose the path that feels right in my soul. The universe does not respond to complexity. It responds to coherence. When your inner world agrees on a direction, everything outside you begins to shift to match it. That is the power of intention during a divine window. And that is why you were guided to this message today. Because your next chapter is not created by chance. It is created by the moment you decide you are ready for it. You may feel a warmth in your chest right now, or a soft ache in your stomach, or a tingling across your skin. These sensations are not random. They are your energy rearranging itself in real time, preparing to anchor your new intention. They're signs of alignment, signs of truth touching the surface. Michael says the window is not closing against you. It is closing around you to seal what you choose. Think of it like a soft glow forming around your intention, protecting it, nurturing it, helping it grow. But the intention itself, that is yours to choose. There is a reason the angels emphasize micro-commitments. When you declare even one sentence of inner truth, you shift your energy enough for the universe to respond. You don't need to leap. You don't need to transform overnight. You don't need to reinvent your life in a single breath. You only need to choose. Choose one belief to honor. Choose one truth to follow. Choose one version of yourself to trust. Choose one step that feels aligned. Choose one emotion to release. Choose one intention to carry forward. Because when you choose, the universe listens. When you choose, energy moves. When you choose, timelines shift. When you choose, the next chapter begins. Michael says this: your life does not change when the window opens. Your life changes when you say yes to who you already are. And you are ready, more ready than you've allowed yourself to admit. Ready to release who you no longer are. Ready to step into who you've always been beneath the layers. Ready to follow your intuition instead of your fear. Ready to stop surviving and start aligning. Ready to stop shrinking and start expanding. Ready to stop doubting and start listening. Your soul has already chosen the direction. You are here now to consciously choose it as well. Feel the truth of this moment, the quiet, the clarity, the resonance. Feel the way your spirit responds to these words, not through thought, but through sensation. Feel how you're not resisting anymore. Feel how something inside you is already leaning forward. The 12 minutes are not about pressure. They are about presence. About being awake enough to choose the version of yourself that is calling you from the future. Because that future version of you, the one who is peaceful, aligned, fulfilled, grounded, is reaching back toward you now, urging you to step forward. And you feel it, not as noise, but as truth. So let the intention rise. Let it form naturally. Let it come from the core of you rather than the expectations around you. Because whatever intention you choose in this moment will anchor your next chapter, and the angels are ready to seal it. If you feel the shift, even slightly, say it, claim it, breathe it. I claim this moment. Say it with honesty. Say it with presence. Say it with your whole spirit. Because the window is here. Your heart is open. Your guidance is speaking. And your next chapter is already unfolding. You don't need to force anything. You just need to choose. And when you do, everything, absolutely everything, begins to align.